All right, how you guys doing for our next daily devotion? Now, obviously, before we get going on this devotion, you might see something different on camera than you normally see. I was wrestling with my dog the other night, and as we were wrestling, his leg got into my eye socket, and no big deal. But then I woke up with this bad boy, this shiner. So apologize if it's distracting. You might have to just close your eyes and listen to my voice as we go through this Devo. We only have one verse today, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12, and we're in the midst of Paul defending his ministry to the Corinthian church. And here's what he says in verse 12. He says, "Not that we dare to classify or compare ourselves with some of those who are commending themselves, but when they measure themselves by one another and compare themselves with one another, they are without understanding." So Paul is defending his ministry. Who's he defending his ministry from? False teachers, false apostles. False apostles are going into Corinth. They are boasting about credentials of what apostle needs to be, and then proclaiming and self-fulfilling their own requirements or their own expectations. So Paul is saying, can't just do that. There's only one person who lays down the foundation for what an apostle of Jesus Christ is, and that is Jesus Christ himself. And so as Paul is defending himself, he's going, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to come out like these false apostles who claim that this is what an apostle should be and look like, and then they kind of do that. He's basically saying, no. They're just basically conducting their own litmus test of what an apostle is. And as we continue to go through this chapter, we're going to see that obviously Paul is saying they are dead wrong, and you should not be listening to him. And this is how Paul is defending his ministry. But this also brought up something for me, not necessarily in the full context of what we're going on here, but just as I was thinking as a part of a devotion and as part of a challenge today to kind of sidestep our text a little bit and to be able to say, isn't it interesting that we're talking about comparing one another and these apostles are doing it and they're trying to compare themselves and contrast it with Paul and what is an apostle and what's not. And I just thought it was very interesting that we as human beings, I know myself, I think many of you have done the same thing. We have walked this life comparing ourselves. We're trying to compare ourselves to other people. And when we're trying to compare ourselves to other people, we find ourselves falling short, or we're not good enough, or they do things so much better. And it could be in a specific field of work. It just could be a person at church. It could be an individual at school or something. We're always trying to compare ourselves to somebody else. And I just want to just kind of bring us back to the simplicity of Jesus Christ. You were fearfully and wonderfully made, and who you are is exactly how God intended it. By his sovereign hand, it was foreordained, and you are wonderful and beautiful just the way you are. So one of the things that we have to stop doing, and this is hard because I think we all kind of fall in this trap, is to stop comparing ourselves to others. Because for the most part, it leaves us downcast. I can never live up to that. I can never accomplish what they have accomplished. I can never have the success they want. And the whole time we're looking at people, and what we should really be doing is looking at Christ. And then let Christ speak into our lives on who we are and have our identity in Christ and live out the purpose that God has for us, just the way he made you and I. So I hope this is encouraging today, and I hope you will challenge yourself to stop playing the compare game. God bless you guys until we do our next devotion together.